Researchers at Oxford University just released a study that found playing video games could have a positive impact on your mental health. The researchers teamed up with Electronic Arts and Nintendo, two of the world's biggest game companies. They asked players to fill out a survey on their experiences that was matched up against playing time logged by the game companies. They found the amount of time spent playing was a small but significant positive factor in people's well-being. That's good news, considering earlier this year, Nielsen reported more than 80% of people around the world played video games in some form. And since the beginning of the pandemic, gaming engagement has been up by 46% in the United States. Researchers say this latest study still needs peer review, and the long-term effects of gaming are still a big question mark. But for now, it's another excuse to spend a little more quality time with your controller.